Hello, 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 beautiful people. How you guys doing on this shitty Monday? Don't we all just love Mondays, and especially when there's so much snow out there that my kids and I, we went to walk the dog this morning. We literally had to climb over some areas of the sidewalk because the driveway got cleaned by a truck, and whatever, a lot of the things that were in the driveway got pushed to the sidewalk and it blocked, so we literally had to climb over. And I'm a little person, okay? My daughter is like this much taller than me and she's 12. So the snow was up to the knees. And I guess that's a perfect way to start talking about fears. Because fears come in all different shapes and sizes in form of like mountains. Because it feels like, yes, Cleo. This kitty that you guys don't see often is here. I'll show you. There we go. Here's my whiny baby. She's not a big fan of being held. But she takes it a little bit. Anyways, so fear comes in different shapes and sizes, in forms of these mountains. That's how fear feels. It feels, because there are different grades, different heights of it. It can feel like a motivation for some, while for others it feels completely crippling to a point where there is nothing happening in here. It's just blackout. So no matter where you are, right? If you're one of those people that is able to use fear as fuel, then you have lots of lessons to share with us, especially if you learn how to view it that way. And if you are on the other side, where I still find myself some days where fear just takes over my existence and I cannot think clearly. So, and it feels like a pending doom. That's how I describe it. It's just something is coming, and it just feels like a lot. So here's one thing that I'll say. There'll be many things, but this is the first thing that I'll share with you is I want you to take a moment and ask that fear, that feeling. It might feel like fear, it might feel like anxiety, whatever it is that you feel and that makes you feel heavy, ask it if it's yours. Because it might not actually be yours. It might be somebody else's, or it might actually be a shared experience of the world right now, because everyone is going through something right now. Every single person that I know, that I have met, no matter the age, is going through something. And I'm also here to tell you that when I say you are not the only one that has fears, doubts, worries, anxieties, stress, I actually mean you're not the only one. Every single human being faces that. Some of us face it on constant basis, while others on daily or weekly or monthly or annual basis, right? Or situationally, which is, once in a blue moon, or monthly or annually. So fear itself is actually a flag. It is something, so when you feel fear, the first thing that we were actually meant to do with that fear is to identify where it's coming from, where it's causing it. And the reason for that, and most people actually don't do this. They do not do this. They just put it aside or move on to the next thing and distract themselves from it, instead of actually facing it head on and dealing with it and going through it, and instead of avoiding it. And fear itself was designed because it is so it is so loud. It is a scream, essentially, that you feel inside your body, inside your mind. It might show up in a different part of your body, or it might be the whole entire body. We are all different. Yes, we're the same, but yet we're all different. We experience things a little bit differently. But when fear shows up, the purpose of it is for us to pause and identify it. Why? Why identify? It's because how are you going to know what monster you're fighting and what tool or tools you need to fight that monster with? Because fear feels like a giant monster. This cat is just loving it. Fear feels like a giant monster that it can, the more you give it, the hungrier it becomes. Right? She's really liking this energy here. I've been working through a lot today. Fear. And on my own, just working through it. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer to identify the root cause of it, or where it's coming from. And for me, today, it's like, once you identify the fear, once I identified that fear, exactly where it was coming from, I felt a huge sense of relief that I could not stop crying. And I just released it all. And afterwards, I'm like, okay, enough crying. Let's get this shit show on the road. Business is not going to build itself. Things are not going to get done by themselves. Somebody has to do them. And that somebody is moi. So how is moi going to work through it? Now, let me share with you, because some of you are probably curious, what is this fear you identify? Because if you ask me later, I might not remember, because I don't write down every single fear, even though it is a great habit to get into as well. So you identify them, and you can use that as like a board that will tell you and help you to help you to pinpoint which fear you're experiencing currently when you're experiencing it. So for me, it was freedom. It was the sheer sense of the lack of freedom that I felt. Now, that doesn't just necessarily mean freedom out there, freedom of choice of what I want to do with my body, what I want to put and don't want to put on my body. It's not just that. Freedom in this experience for me today was all about the expectations that I have put on myself that are no longer aligning with me, that I continue to stick to and continue to push myself and do it, which causes me to feel trapped, which caused me to feel locked in this prison in here. Because that's what fear can do. It traps us in this space of our mind, and unless we do something about it, it will stay there. And here's the thing, those of you that say, I don't need to deal with it, it'll go away, it won't. I'm here to tell you that it won't fully go away. But what will happen, and if you don't believe me, I want you to think back in the past of a fear that you had that was seemingly small, that then eventually grew into much bigger fear. Right? For some of you, in like one of the biggest fears that I've heard from people and help people with is going outside. Now, I'm not a professional to help people to go outside, but it has helped me to understand more of that fear that starts very, 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 very small, and it's seemingly invisible. It's like difficult to identify. How did I get here? But it started from not wanting to hang out with certain people because they made you feel bad. This is for one individual. And then when you start to feel bad and it happens outside, this individual started having an internal dialogue with themselves on the experiences outside, and it no longer felt outside. It would be, it started with the conversation with friends that, put her down outside in the public space where others, witnessed that and experienced that. And then from there, it just, and then, you're walking relaxed, everything is fine, good, and then something startles you from behind, like a car honking, and it just, the fear of being outside in that space, you start to associate different things with the outside, and then eventually you don't want to go out there. Fear of the cold is a huge one as well. I used to have that fear of the cold, and guess what? I still do, because some fears we can't fully heal within a few months, a few years. Some fears, they take longer to heal, right? And the longer that you've been carrying a certain fear, and the longer you've been adding to it, the longer you've been growing this fear into this giant monster, the harder it is to get rid of it, to heal from it. And one of the biggest questions I get all the time is, what do I do, Yana? How do I get over this one fear that I have? How do I get over it? My response is always, there is no getting over it or around it. There's only through it. And the only way to heal that fear, that anxiety, is to face it head on. Let's use one example of the biggest fears for so many of us is parents. We all have them, right? And when you've done something that you're not proud of and you have to talk to your parents about it, or they know about it and they come and talk to you, and you feel that fear, or with the boss. But we'll talk about the parents here, because we all have those. We all have bosses as well. Even if you're your own boss, you're still a boss, and you gotta deal with that boss. So when you gotta go and deal with that situation, you're gonna feel all sorts of things, a lot. And fear often feels like you're about to die, that you're going to jump off that cliff right now and it's all rocks at the bottom. That's what fear feels like. And the mind is the one that, I want to say does this to us, some of you, but the rest of you, others that are here, this is what the mind does for us. So what the mind does for us is it makes everything black and white, where you're about to go and talk to your parents, you're gonna die, right? It's a definite death. Misery, you walking to your parents and you're definitely going to die. You're going to talk to your boss, you're gonna die. You're about to do an exam, I am dying, and that's it. The moment that I sit down, I'm just going to combust. Now, has anyone ever died by going to talk to their parents, by going to talk to their boss, or doing the exam, these examples that I used, from facing their fear? As long as the fear wasn't actually dangerous. Has anybody died from facing their fear? I have yet to hear of anyone who has died from facing their fear. I haven't. And if you have, I'd love to hear. What was it that individual was going to do that killed them, that they were terrified of? So, what did we take from this video today? I'd like to hear what you took from it, but I will just summarize what I shared. I shared with you what fear is, and its purpose, because its purpose is to help you to, its purpose is to get you to stop and identify what you're feeling, what's going on, instead of pushing it aside and getting yourself distracted with something else that is just a distraction. Because the more you face those fears, the more you sit down with your feelings and emotions and your fears, the more you get to understand them, the easier it will become to deal with them, to work through them, to identify them, to a point where you won't have to do it for that long. It took me most of the day to avoid it, and I deal with it, because I too am a human being. I too just need and have to get things done, so I push it aside. But what happens when it's pushed aside? I am not myself. I'm not my 100 or my 100% self. I am not authentically myself, because there is an entity. Fear is an entity inside of me that is screaming to get out. It's locked in there and it doesn't want to be there. Believe you me, it does not want to be in there. It wants out. It wants to be free, just like you. And you are keeping it trapped inside. I'm sorry, but it is selfish in a way as well. Think of that entity as a being that's alive. And by you tossing it aside and not talking to it and ignoring it, it's just gonna scream louder and louder and louder and louder each and every time it shows up. That's why I want you to pause and take a moment for yourself and for this entity inside of you that is screaming to get out. And the only way out for it is to be identified, to be acknowledged and validated, and to know what it is. And that alone might be more than enough for most of you. For me, it's more than enough. 99.9% of the time. Now I also have the tools and the skills to work through these things like this. But I didn't have them when I started. I built myself up to get here on my own and with lots and lots of help, free and paid help, because I know that I can't do everything on my own. As much as I want to be the one to say I did everything on my own, nobody can actually say that at the end of their life, because there's always someone around us that helps us through it one way or another, whether they know it or not. You go on social media, maybe for inspiration, to help you work through whatever it is that you're working through. And maybe you landed on this video to help you to work through your fear that feels like a pending doom. Maybe that's the word that got your attention. You're like, I want to know what this pending doom is. Pending doom, to me, is that I'll just describe how I feel. It is that entity, because it takes over my existence, and I don't feel like myself. So I don't feel like myself. I feel heavy. I feel drained. I feel worthless. I feel helpless. I feel lost and confused and disoriented. I feel like I'm barely keeping my nose above the water, and I continue to put my nose in the water, and I don't know about you, but I can't swim underwater without holding my nose. I can't. I tried. I put in the bathtub, I'll put my face in the water just to hold my nose there, and it's so hard because I can feel the air bubble in there. I'm like, no, I can't do it, and I come up. So pending doom feels like I'm about to die. It's going to happen any second. And it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen, and it doesn't go away, it stays. And even worse, sometimes it actually even amplifies and magnifies and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger to a point where I can no longer deal with it. So what else can you do? Because sometimes we can't just go and face that fear. We can't always just go and do it, right? It might be whatever that fear is. It might be you're just not able to physically go and do it, or you're not fully ready to deal with it. So, or perhaps you haven't figured out another way to help you work through it. There are many other ways. So one of the ways is change your physiology. That one pretty much works 99.9% of the time. Change your physiology means move. Get out of the space, get out from where you are, go somewhere else. Maybe move also for you means keep walking, right? It might mean do some, squats or push-ups. Or I'm not going to show you all these moves. Just the squats itself was good enough. Do something. Dance. Scream if you have to. If you're scared of screaming outside, go do it outside. Scared screaming in your house? Scream in your house. See who comes running. Now I'm like, let me scream and see what happens. No, that'd be really, really loud. And I scream very rarely, but when I do, everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? You okay? Yeah, just good. Startled or whatever happened. But anyways, without making this video much longer, because I can keep talking and talking and talking. It is one of my gifts. The gift of gab is mine. I own it, and I am not ashamed of it anymore. I used to fear speaking as well. Live video was paralyzing fear to me. Not that long ago, actually. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I think. I don't know, honestly. But I know it's not that long. It hasn't been that long. And I also took many breaks in between, so it's not every day, all day long. So I faced it. Same ways I'm suggesting to you guys. Started with identifying it. Because only by identifying this monster do we know what tool we can use. You already have tools. You can get new ones, but you already have tools at your disposal. Eventually, some of them might lose their power if you overuse them. But most tools, they don't. They don't. As long as you continue using them and using them and using them, and then thanking them for it as well. So that is all for today. Hopefully this video has helped you to identify some of your fears, I want to say, or get a plan in place of what you're going to do after this video is done, and continuing doing these things that are helping you going forward. And if you find that one of the tools that you have is no longer helping you, then change it to a different one, because eventually you'll find a tool that actually helps all the time with that fear. And keep changing them, keep trying them out. But when you find the one that works, stick to it. Stick to it. And when I say continue changing them and try them out, I don't mean today you do this, you use this tool, tomorrow you use this tool. When I say tools, because this is a question I get as well, so I take the time to answer these questions through these videos as well. So when I'm talking about a tool, I'm talking about anything that helps you. So listening to music is a tool. Have a conversation with someone who understands you and will hold space for you and allow you to feel whatever it is that you're feeling and work through it on your own without trying to get you out of there. That's a tool. Exercise is a tool. Making sure you're eating, your nutrition is a tool as well, and you're eating healthy. So all of these things are tools. And then on top of it as well, actual tools of where you sit down, and so one of the tools I'll be sharing a few tools next week on my first being day that I'll be hosting, on how to overcome your anxiety and build your dream life and live your dream life. And some of these tools, the one I'm going to be introducing, will be the 7 energy levels. So those of you that want to attend, make sure you sign up, because it'll be live, and you get to you will get to understand each level, each of the 7 levels, the ins and outs of it. And that's 7 tools that you have at your disposal, right? And then there are tools where you sit down and you just write. Journaling is a tool as well. There's many tools, without going into all of them. Because some of them I have to actually physically show you and explain, and that's all. Like, I'm trying to see if I can explain other ones without giving them away when I'm actually going to be giving them away. Yeah, that's it. So if you are, if you need a little bit more help, because fear and anxiety, they are one and the same. In my body, it feels practical the same. Because it's the pending doom, right? That feeling of something there that I don't know what it is. It's like it's like, just imagine somebody shift a really big box to your house, and they brought it inside and they put it in your living room, and it's sealed shut. There's a window you can peek through, but whatever is inside is making a lot of noises, and it's making scary noises that scare you and only you. So it's making those noises. Whatever is inside is doing that. That's what that fear is. It's like that box in your living room with something inside of it making a lot of noises that terrify you, and you have that peephole to see what it is, but you're too scared to even go into your living room because you've left the house. That's what fear is. But the moment that you open it and you see that it's just one little fluffy puppy or a kitten or a little koala or a little panda bear, and you realize, oh my God, I had nothing to be scared of. Why did I run out of my house and was out of my house for days, weeks, months, years, scared to deal with this monster, which wasn't even a monster at all. It was just scared and trapped in there, and I wanted to get out and be free. Fear is also huge. When I said it's a flag, it's that flag that tells you that you're fearing of losing something that you love and care about. Think about that for a minute, which will help you to identify what love is for you and what it's not. Now that might be losing yourself or outside of yourself. Might be losing your free time, or losing this comfortable and yet uncomfortable emotion that you're experiencing, but it's still fear nonetheless. Anyways, that is all. If you need more, you want more, please go sign up for my Being Day event for next week. I have Facebook event page coming up, and it'll be posted on my personal page as well. So make sure you sign up for that and actually show up and have your notebook and pen or pencil ready and do the work, because it'll be workshop style. Because I want everyone to walk away with something that will help them to move themselves or the business forward. So that's it. And feel free to share this video with anyone that you know it could benefit. Other than that, thank you. And until next time, bye.